Welcome to another episode of The Average White Guys. My name's Alex Haynes, one of the owners of A Squared, a social media and marketing company, here to serve you. And I'm here with the amazing, illustrious, good-looking Justin. Justin, say hi.
Hi there, folks. My name is Justin with LLW Properties and Community Real Estate Services.
And Justin, what are we talking today in the podcast?
The four types of people. Today, we're going to be talking about how to quickly understand yourself and others and how it can affect how to start a business. We're going to be doing this by using a quick code technique called B.A.N.K. Blueprint, action, nurture, and knowledge.
You know, it's funny because we talked about this outside of the podcast, and it reminded me of a funny story. As far as I can remember, my dad really drilled the importance of communication into me. Master the art of communication, he would say, and you'll achieve anything you want. And over the years, I've honed my storytelling skills and perfected the art of making sales and being adapted and connecting with people. It's really my whole life story is how I've come to what I do now. Then one day, a business connection of mine introduced us to a quick code system called B.A.N.K, B.A.N.K, which I actually use almost every day, and especially when I meet new people. Coding people on the fly has become a cornerstone of our sales strategy. And as we ventured into social media and content creation, we seamlessly integrated this approach into graphics, helping our business target their ideal clients more precisely. And along the way, we discovered that while everyone is excellent at communicating their primary personal type, personal language, they really struggle communicating with others. This realization extended beyond business into personal lives and even influenced how they built their businesses. One amusing incident underscores this tendency to pigeonhole perfectly. I was assisting an organization in promoting their network event to individuals of varying personality types. And we always emphasize that you can't sell to a knowledge type of persona, so we only really focused on the other three, B-A-N. So we designed these three different graphics tailored to these three type of personalities: a blueprint, an action-oriented, and a nurture, each graphic highlighting a unique aspect of that event that would appeal to those personalities. During the presentation, we explained the concept of how each one was going to target a different personality type and showcase the graphics. Now, what followed was kind of unexpected. For the next 20 minutes, they debated fiercely over which was the superior ad because of how it resonated with them personally, and totally the meeting went into chaos. Somehow they lost sight of the fact that there were three ads which were all going to be used to target different audiences. Instead, each person wanted their own ad to be the only ad and discard the rest because it spoke to them so well. They kind of missed the entire point of the exercise. Justin, I think you were actually there at this meeting. What was your perspective in all of this when this happened?
Yeah, I remember that distinctly because I know I was one of the ones arguing. I was looking at the two, obviously, that did not fit my personality there. And I just couldn't understand why those were working or how that could even work with trying to get people into the group. And although each person was really talking about how it hit them and why it was the best ad for them, I still just could not see it. And at that point, it really clicked for me on what you do as your business and what marketing does as a whole. And it really made me just think of why marketing one is so tough and how you can help, how you and Alex are so good at handling those type of things. But not only that, it just made me think of more of the personalities, just how we have to go through life knowing that we have to deal with others. So knowing our personality, and like you said before, how important it is to know the other personalities really hit home when we were having this debate. I think you said nicely, but it almost was getting to, like you said, an argument at that point of why we were trying to say ours is the best way.
Yeah, I think that sort of really shines a light on why grasping your own personality first and its quirks is crucial, especially if you're thinking about starting a business. It's not just about self awareness, it's about understanding others and recognizing the potential stumbling blocks you might face in starting your own business or even running your business.
So let's go over B.A.N.K real quick so our audience can keep us on what it breaks down to for each personality type. So Alex, you said there's a system and it's called B.A.N.K. Can you tell us what the B stands for, a little bit more about the personality?
Yeah, absolutely. B stands for a blueprint personality, and you definitely have a touch of blueprint. I remember the graphics you liked was blueprint. It was structured, right? Blueprint, they're all about a certain type of systems. They all love systems and checklists and structure. These folks are all about the
Methodology?
methodical. There it is, methodical. These folks are all about the methodical approach, the step by step process that guides them towards their goal. They find comfort in efficiency and have clear blueprints to follow, whether it's in their work, their projects, or even their daily routines. For them, it's not just about getting these things done, it's about getting them done right with precision and attention to detail. That's what a blueprint person is, like a primary blueprint. And if you're saying, oh my gosh, that's me, welcome to Blueprint.
It sounds like these type of people might find themselves with businesses like consulting, franchiseship ownership, financials, and even insurance because they have the structure to it. So, what's the downside or the short sightedness to a blueprint person?
You know, the thing about Blueprint personalities, they strive in a structure. I mean, they absolutely crave it. It's like their North Star guiding them through the chaos of life. That's how they make sense of the world. But this is where it gets tricky. If the structure gets disrupted, something falls outside of that carefully laid out plans, it can throw them for a loop. They're not exactly go with the flow type of people, and they're more like stick to the plan no matter what types. We know these type of people where something kind of goes out of whack and they kind of have a meltdown because everything was planned out. We know that's the extreme of that personality, but that is the downside. Now, when it comes to starting a business, a blueprint personality are naturally drawn to ventures that come with built in roadmaps. Think franchises, insurance agencies, financial firms, ventures like that, kind of like what you said. It's not that they can't handle a little spontaneity, but they feel at ease when there's a clear framework to operate within. It's like having a safety net. It allows them to really focus on what they do best without worrying about reinventing the wheel. Now, for all you blueprint personalities out there, consider diving into the entrepreneurship side. Here's a word of caution. While your love of structure and system is a definite asset, and it really is, don't let it blind you for the need of flexibility. Yes, having a solid plan is crucial, but in the business world, it's unpredictable and you don't always go according to plan. It's essential to remain open minded and adaptable, ready to pivot when necessary. And I use something very normal to us because we all just went through it, but that pandemic threw a lot of people off. The plan went out the window. A lot of people are panicking.
So, I know we're going to get down into the K here in a little bit,
Yeah,
and that's more of what my personality is.
yeah.
But it's interesting when I've been paying attention more to what the blueprint is. And right now in my business, I'm going through a struggle of we have to have this certain way of doing certain things because it's going to make everything run smoother. So it's interesting that although I am definitely stronger on the K, which, like I said, you'll get to, there is that side of me that is the next one would be that B. So that B. So I understand how that kind of comes into play. There was a lot to digest, though, what you talked about. So let's get into A. I think you have a bit of A. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say it's a constant tug of war for me, funnily enough, between A and N. And you said something I want to touch base on for all those listening to us. You will have two primaries. You will probably have two letters. You're not just one usually. You're probably two letters. I'm an AN or an NA depending on the day. And you probably are BK or KB depending on the day. Just means whatever's the primary is going to come out a little bit more. And for me, they're always looking out for dominance between my A personality and my nurture personality. Now, an A, that's short for action types. These folks, they're the ones who dive headfirst into opportunity that comes their way, no questions asked. They're all about seizing the moment, making things happen, and chasing after success with a fiery passion. And let me tell you, it's not exactly subtle about it either. They have no problem telling you where they stand. These are go getters, the ones who thrive on competition and aren't afraid to make some noise along the way. It's like they got a perpetual energy, an engine of energy and ambition driving them forward.
I feel these people make natural salespeople. So I would guess sales and marketing, fitness, and wellness trainers, startup owners as well. What would you think would be the downside of an A personality be when it comes to business startup?
So this is a major point of inflection for me, really looking at my own self going, where do I fail? And the major pitfalls of an A personality. Well, let's just say they're not exactly known for cautious contemplation before taking the plunge. I'm very lucky to have a business partner who's the exact opposite me. And because of that, over the years, he's tempered me to not make decisions on the fly and has saved us tens of thousands of dollars. Because I would have been in the past the guy who just did stuff because it felt right at the moment. It's all about diving into the fray, letting their gut instincts and passions guide them. Consequences be darned. They're the ones who end up smack dab in the middle of chaos, wondering how on the earth they got there. But you know what? That's not a problem for them. That's the solution. They're not the ones to back down from a challenge. They're the type that love adrenaline and uncertainty and turning chaos into opportunity at every turn. Here's the thing. Imagine if you could harness the boundless energy and enthusiasm and channel it all with a well oiled system crafted from a top notch blueprint personality. Imagine you actually had a structure. This is what would help in a personality the best, right? Is having someone coming and giving them a structure and then you working in that structure. Because without it, you're over expending a lot of energy you don't need to. If you had someone like that together, you'd be an unstoppable powerhouse, turning your business ventures into a roaring success and watching the profits soar to unimaginable heights. It's like a match made in heaven, a dynamic duo destined for greatness. So if you're an A personality looking to make waves in the business world, I really would consider you finding a blueprint counterpart. You won't regret it. And I've done that, and it's been very, very helpful to me. It's how we've stayed in business. And let's not forget, real quick, I just want to touch base on this emotions. A personalities, they have big emotions. They're known for their high highs and sometimes incredible depths of frustration, despair when things don't go their way. If you're not careful, you can suddenly find yourself overwhelmed by your circumstances, lashing out at those around you, and playing the blame game instead of taking a step back and seeking help. It's a common pitfall for the personality of this individual, but the right support and self awareness can really help and navigate your emotions more effectively and emerge stronger than ever. And just a quick note for those who might be like me and struggle with some of those emotions, get the help you need. Talk to someone about it. Don't let it get bottled up because it can cause problems later. And you don't want that.
Yeah.
Get a blueprint.
And I like how you brought in emotions because I know you've talked about your personal struggles with mental health and keeping a healthy work life balance. I know it's something we plan on talking about in a later episode, so we won't get into too much of that now. So let's go ahead and move on to the N.
N's the other part of me. And this stands for nurture. Nurturers are all about people, about connections, about lending a helping hand. If you were to offer a choice to a nurturer between $1 million and a million friends, you can bet every dollar you have, they will always choose friends. They love people. It's just who they are. Are wired to prioritize relationships over riches and find fulfillment in fostering connections and supporting others in life's journey. Empathy, they got this in spades. They are the type of folks who wear their hearts on their sleeves. They're deeply care and passionate about making a positive impact in their lives and those around them. They're the ones who show up first, lend a hand, and who volunteer their time and energy without a second thought, who'll give generously, not only out of obligation, but out of genuine compassion. Nurturers are the backbone of communities. These are the people that you see always show up and volunteer. They're the glue that time and time again holds families together. They're champions of kindness around the world, and they will look for things and champion them and help raise funds and get volunteers. They see the beauty in the world and of every person that is unique and has a unique soul, and every person's beautiful. They'll stop at nothing to help other people realize their worth. Nurturers remind us that true wealth lies in the riches of relationships and the depth of their compassion. That's kind of what a nurturer is.
I'd imagine these people would start like nonprofits, be involved with health and wellness, educators, tutors. When you were describing a couple of those attributes, it really made me think of my in laws. They're both teachers. They loved teaching for years. They both retired as teachers, and they just had that passion of wanting to see what they could do with the children that they educated over the years. And I remember having stories from my father-in-law where he would see his students like 20 years later, grown up, ask them how they're doing, be so excited about their connection that they're making now because they would be like, "Oh, I loved how much you helped me," and things like that. So that's definitely where that nurturer fits in. The Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like these two main pitfalls of a nurturer, they can take advantage of and they can struggle with sales. Is that correct?
You know, I think that's spot on. I think there's a tendency for people to try to take advantage from nurturers because they're so giving. The world is can be a cruel place especially if you're going to go into business. The world is always looking to take, and nurture is always looking to give, and sometimes that symbiotic relationship is not healthy. Um, they are taken advantage of sometimes because they're so interested in helping people, they forget the need to sell products or to charge people what they're worth. They'd rather help the person than and then make a dollar. They're really wired to put other people's needs above them, to the point where they end up giving the farm away, so to speak. And to be honest, I've had this problem in the past, and it's something we've actually struggled with in earlier episodes. We're not sure they're going to get released, but we've we've joked that I have said way too much and given too much away in a podcast, teaching something I shouldn't have gone in depth with because we sell that product, and that is something a nurturer will do time and time again: is give away too much. Um, you know, I've seen people pour out their heart and soul into helping others, only to find themselves being depleted and undervalued. It's like they're stuck in a cycle of overgiving and not quite realizing by charging more for their services, they can actually help more people in the long run. Nurturers need to see their true worth, and this is something they struggle with. They'll see everyone else's worth, but never their own. To recognize their value and bring it to the table and understand by valuing themselves more, they can ultimately make a bigger impact in the lives around them and helping more people.
So, lastly, we're coming to my favorite, and that's the K. Tell us a little bit about the Ks.
Yeah, so actually, I think you and my business partner have really strong K or knowledge types. K stands for knowledge, and I find these people are walking encyclopedias of the world. Always thirsting for more information, more data, more knowledge. It's not the type to be swayed by slick sales pitch or flashy marketing gimmicks. They're far too busy diving into research, analyzing mountains of data, forming their own conclusion based on cold hard facts. As I mentioned before, we never try to sell to knowledge people. We give information and we're there and follow up with customer service. And the reason I know to do this is because my business partner and best friend is a knowledge type, and you cannot sell him on anything. He will do the research, he will make a decision, and he will follow up with someone to affirm or confirm the stuff he's done the research on. And he likes your answers, he will then buy from you. And if you give him a good customer experience, you will have him for life. That is what a knowledge person wants, right? Um, the thing about knowledge types is they really, really can't be sold. And I kind of just said that in the little window into our world. It's very hard to get things approved in my business to get bought sometimes. So if you're trying to win over a knowledge type, it's better to come prepared with data and research and hard evidence that backs up your claims rather than like a sales pitch or gimmick of anything. They're not going to be impressed.
So, a little bit into my world of being a K. Like you said, knowledge. I love listening to podcasts. I love reading books. I love talking with other business owners and trying to get the knowledge that I can. It's interesting because a lot of the times my family, I'll listen to a podcast. I'm like, hey, let me tell you about this. And they're like, not again. I'll be talking about something. It'll be, so, have you heard this about endorphins? If you do this, this, and this, and my son will look at me like, again, we're going to go over some knowledge that I'm never going to use. I I find it interesting though, because although he says this to me sometimes, or he used to say it to me more often when he was a little bit younger, he is now starting to repeat some of those things. And so I think it's fun to me because it actually, when I was able to share that knowledge and I had enthusiasm about it, it really did sink into him because he knew that it meant something to me. That means at least that knowledge was something that I was craving and I better pay attention to it. So I do find that interesting about that. What are some of the pitfalls, those of the knowledge type?
Oh, when it comes to knowledge types, they, like you said, it really stands out. They have so much information. They do all this research. They have all these little facts they know about, and that's great. They're walking libraries. Despite all that knowledge, though, and expertise, they're not immune to some of this pitfall I'm going to go over. One of them is called information paralysis, where there's a nagging fear that they can't make a move until they gather every last bit of information possible. I just need a little bit more information. I just need to know a little bit more. I need to know everything about it before I can make the decision. And that can be a problem. Sometimes you only need to know 80%. You don't need to know 100% of that information. And trying to get 100% of that information can hold people back from actually, you know, seizing on opportunities that might be right in front of them that have a timeline. Um, or they're stuck in an endless loop of analysis, unable to actually take a crucial step forward. And this can happen at startups, especially not making that first step because you don't know what you don't know. So you're trying to get all this information, reading all these books, and you never do anything with the information because there's more information for you to absorb, but you never took that first step because you're not a master at running a business yet before you started. So that's sometimes one of the big things that can happen. The next issue can be perception, and this is kind of a touchy subject. And this is not all knowledge types, and it's definitely, I feel like, more on the introverted and analytical knowledge types because we also have, extroverts out there who super knowledgeable and they won't have this perception. But sometimes introverts with knowledge can be seem and come across as cold and closed off and doesn't like people. And that actually isn't true. What is actually happening is they cannot understand why you're so dumb. They can't get to why are you bothering me? Why are you saying these things that make no sense? 9 times out of 10, that's part of what's going through their head. The other part is you haven't taken the time to get to know them. They are a vault of valuable gems and gold, but it takes time to get into there and get to know that person. And they're not going to be like, just come on in. They've taken the time to put all this information and it's super valuable to them. They're not going to share it with just anybody. You have to gently build a relationship with them. And once you do, that friendship usually bloom. You'll find them some of the best people you ever met with huge amounts of vast information. And they are a lot of fun. And they'll be the loudest, craziest person in the room when it's just the people they know. But when they go to a group of people they don't know, they just, people in general, they just don't like as a group because we both know people as general are kind of dumb. Not our listeners. Our listeners are amazing.
So that brings up a couple different things when you were hitting on some of those items. First one is you and I are in a business networking group, and in that we are supposed to do one-to-ones. And what that is it's where you outside of the group you go to meet with people just to get to know them a little bit better. We had this one member in, she's not in there now, but she was in there for about 2 years. And it was about a year and a half where I kept asking her, would you like to get together for a one-to-one? Yeah, let's do it. I kept asking her, and she just kept avoiding me. And at one point, she came to me, or I came to her. I said, look, you've been avoiding me for about a year. Can you tell me why? And she goes, you just intimidate me. I was like, I am so sorry. I'd never tried to give that personality at the group. I try to be as open as I can. I know I get along with others. Some say I don't maybe joke enough, but I'm there for business, and that's what I'm there for. So it was a good personality change for me because I was like, okay, I need to make sure that even though I'm knowledge, even though I want to get to business, I still need to throw in those other personalities. And then the other thing that really hit home for me on this one was when you said the paralysis of making a decision. Unfortunately, here as a leader, that is one of my downfalls. I get that from the employees all the time where they're like, you just need to make that decision. You just need to make that decision. And I have really been focusing on that this last year. So if you are that knowledge type, you need to look in the mirror and kind of go, okay, yes, I do have that problem. And this is how you can get over it. Just start making little tiny decisions that are just going to make you get used to making decisions when they need to come up. So let's take this one step further for the audience. How can they apply this information not only for their own growth, but also for the future of their business?
I think the first bit of information and advice I would give would be a quote first. To know thyself, for within lies the power to transform the world. If you really think about what that says, it's all about the self-knowledge helps you see your own potential downfalls and pitfalls so you can help avoid them. Me understanding I technically am a nurturer by how I was born, but became an action to protect that because I was taken advantage of so often with a giving heart and hurt so much by people. I became an action type to protect myself. Knowing that now and understanding how I've built, knowing I need to let my nurturer out more and how to protect it has become a huge part of even why we're doing this and helping people. I'm trying to find healthy ways of helping people that do not give too much of myself away and still protect who I am. Right. So I've had to figure out how to protect myself. And I think for those listening, If you can understand really who you are, and like you said, that information paralysis, you can go find solutions that specifically talk to that problem. I have a blueprint to help me not spend money. He has a, does it do X, Y, and Z? Well, no, then you can't do it.
Yeah, and I have a nurturer as my wife who basically puts me into check a lot of times, makes sure that I'm putting my personality out there as, hey, are you making sure you're talking to people? Are you making sure you're making that connection with them? She greets everybody in here with a smile, no matter how rude they're being. She's going to try and get them to come into her world and say, hey, let me help you. To where I'm just kind of like, okay, what's the problem? Let's get to the end of this. What's the solution? So,
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny you said something earlier that people were intimidated by you. I have been there where I have seen you before we've really gotten to know each other as someone who stands on a mountain of information, who's kind of championed wisdom. And that's why I sought you for the podcast. And as we've gotten to know each other better, there's a whole different side of personality I've seen come out and jokes we have now and the laughter we've had in these podcasts that 6 months ago I wouldn't have believed existed. Right. And I think that's a very important part of all this that we've said is if you really need to understand yourself to avoid these mistakes.
so advice number 2, and this is a quote, and this is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. You want to explain this a little bit?
Yeah, it's not that people are the enemy. I mean, it's easy to see that sometimes, but there's something to be said about being able to easily persuade people by just understanding how to communicate with them in their own natural personal language. And this is what we do in our marketing. This is what we do when it comes to communicating with people. If I know your blueprint or knowledge, a great example, we put together a structure for this podcast to help a blueprint do a better job at getting prepared because they felt like they weren't unprepared. They weren't prepared. They weren't able to take all that information they had and put it into a system that would help them get the job done. Right? It was just too chaotic. Where someone like me who loves chaos was feeling really comfortable, right? But we didn't really take into account the blueprint personality in the room. And so we changed a few things and now it's a much better system. The person whose action is taking lead on creating stuff, the person whose blueprint is filling a lot more information in and doing a lot more with that knowledge, and we're coming out with a much cleaner, better produced podcast. That is an example of how this would work. Another example, I'm going to use it as marketing. If you are trying to sell your product to someone and your product and your blueprint or nurture or even a knowledge type, a lot of products are bought by action types, people who do not think. And if you understand how to talk to them, this is marketing we're talking about. This is not necessarily nice, but you can take advantage of that, especially if you do something called cost analysis and you understand where the threshold of people will buy without thinking, which is usually like $30 or less. Little tidbit there if you're looking for like fast cash. But think about it when you're in the market and you go to buy groceries, what do you see right before you buy groceries? The little aisle that we all hope our kids don't see. What is it? Do you know?
Just the
It's tasty. It's delicious. It's
treats.
sweet. The treats. Why are they there?
It's an easy grab. It's an easy sell.
It's an easy grab, an easy sell, and it's always more expensive if you bought it from somewhere else. They always mark it up. It's an easy, we don't think about it. That is what you can do in your business for other people online if you understand how marketing works with writing better content, specifically targeting those type of people. If I want to target a blueprint person, I can say, hey, come check out our new latest step-by-step sales pitch on how to make 10 more sales. All the blueprint people like step by step. What? Structure?
My ears just perked up.
My ears were perked up, right? I said step by step. You got a lot more attentive as soon as I said that. That's kind of what that means.
So advice number 3. This is from Stephen Covey's author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Strength lies in difference, not in similarities. you like to expand on that?
Sure. To me, this is really important to look at this specific quote as you grow your business. The reality is, if you start by yourself, eventually, hopefully, you get to a point where you need to hire people. Cohesive, motivated, and successful teams lead to increased profitability and long term success. And the reality is, you're not going to go hire a bunch of people who are exactly like you. We all know those businesses who hire people and things happen and people quit. And one of the struggles is, well, my boss just didn't get me, or they didn't know how to communicate to me, or I felt like X, Y, and Z, or wasn't listened to, or I wasn't valued. That's because you're not communicating in their language. And as a boss, as a leader, it's our job to learn how to communicate. It's not their job to learn how to listen to us. Whoever's communicating, it's their job to communicate.
Yeah, and as a leader, I have definitely struggled with this over the years, especially being that blueprint and that being my personality trait. It was a good reflection, like I said. It really still stands with me today. That B&I one-to-one I was talking about, how she said she couldn't approach me for a year and a half, even though we met every week. We've even been to a party or two. And I really need to keep that in mind when I'm talking with the employees here as well, is that I want to see some structure here. Structure is good. Structure keeps everybody in line. Unfortunately, California laws makes you have certain structures, things like that as well. And that's actually where my mind goes to a lot, is it's not just the structure part of it. It's like, I don't want a lawsuit. I don't want this. I don't want this. And it's hard because you still got to go, okay, that's there. I like it as a blueprint, but I need to realize that everybody has their own personalities. How do you mend with that? And how do you interact to make sure that they're feeling like this is a comfort place for them to come to? Because let's be honest, besides sleep, this is where they spend most of their time, is especially on a weekday. So it's making sure you take that personality and seeing the good in it and how you can restructure it with the other ones as well.
Yeah, I think that's very important. That kind of goes in our next section, implementing these things. And the great thing is, if you are a blueprint, this knowledge is perfect because you can go through and create systems where you can apply this and quick code people and go, okay, they're an A, they're an N, they're a K. I know how to now communicate with them. I know this is going to be the main things. I need to change what I say and how I say it to them to make sure they feel better. So, first thing you need to do to implement all this stuff we've given you is go back through, possibly re-listen to this podcast, because that's great for us. We get the numbers, and then really identify your main personality trait. Figure out, are you a B? Are you an A? Are you an N? Or are you a K? Just your main one. If you want to do it and really get into it, go back there and think, what is my secondary? If you're struggling between two, those are your two primary ones. Just write both of them down. It's not going to be super important which one is the main one. You'll figure it out over time.
So I have a question for you. We have our natural kind of speaking voices. How do we get to understand our natural speaking voice a little bit better?
So your natural speaking voice is going to be your natural personality. If you needed to write a social media post, I'm going to use something I'll use, and you're saying things like people, and you're all about loving and encouragement and excitement, you're a nurturer. If you write something and it's all about opportunity and don't wait and get it now and fear of loss and hurry, 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 you're an action type. If you write your post as a step by step guide, do this with bullet points, and there's your hashtags are alphabetical, you're a blueprint. That's just what you are. Now, if you're writing stuff and you tend to write a long, you don't even like social media because social media doesn't have enough space for all the information you want to give people, and you prefer LinkedIn or you prefer video because you can do long format posts, you're knowledge type.
So if we are trying to practice this, a good way to do that, and like you just mentioned with writing skills, is to not write this in your own personality. To write this really, if you really want to get down into the heart of practicing it, almost write what you want to get across in three different personalities so you can get to understand that. Is that a good action plan?
I think it's a great action plan. I'm going to give a little tip as well. Not only should you practice writing it so you get better at it, but I'm going to suggest something that's going to throw some people. I suggest you go find some free AI tool, whatever it is. It could be some of the new stuff coming out. It could be ChatGPT. It could be the Google's one, whatever it is. Write what you normally would say and say, hey, based on this, show me what a nurturer would say. Show me what a blueprint would say. Show me what would appeal to an action type. And you're going to be shocked at how different that's going to come out because it's going to say basically the same thing. It's going to reword it and use different buzzwords, right? Different keywords that's going to appeal to that personality. It's going to do it for you. This is really going to help those who struggle knowing how to even begin to talk another language because it's going to be hard for some people. So if you're really struggling, don't spend the time. Don't spend the time struggling, sweating, crying over this. Use the tools like AI to help you see what that would look like. Once you understand and learn, you will naturally be able to do this with practice.
I would say that is the best piece of advice throughout this whole episode. The reason I say that is because I'm really not going to go right and do that. I mean, in my mind, that was a good practice of doing that, but now you've just given me the shortcut to doing that, and especially using today's technology. So great advice on that one because now it's so simple. You can even use your voice command to almost put it in there so you don't even have to write a dang thing if you don't want to. So
Absolutely.
thank you for that very much.
Yeah. And, in all of this, we want to remind each and every one of you who's listening, you are on an incredible journey. You are embarking on something that's crazy. Both Justin and I have done this, my business partner have done this, and let me tell you, the path is filled with challenges and triumphs. But the one thing is for certain, you're not alone. We started this podcast to support people just like you. So please do not quit before you start. If you're struggling, don't quit. Keep pressing forward. Keep nurturing your dreams, keep honing your skills, and keep believing in yourself. Remember, every setback is an opportunity for growth, and every small victory is a step closer to your goals. No matter where you are in your journey, please know that we believe in you. That's why we started this. We want to thank you for listening. Don't forget, of course, to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
We
We,
are
the average white guys.